In the end, they all talk. When you inflict enough pain to their body, when you have finally broken their spirit, they spit it out. They want to tell you all they know. The names of their accomplices, where they live, everything. And God knows that we are the best at this game. Better than the Russians, the Israelis, and the fucking French. This was after September 11th, after the devastating attack on the World Trade Center in the Pentagon, before the rise of the Islamic State in the Middle East. Frank and I were part of the elite team at the CIA. Frank was supposed to meet with Victoria, a stewardess from Trinidad he'd fallen in love with a couple of years ago. He had decided to ask her to marry him, but life is a bitch when you have dedicated yourself to serve and protect the nation. His plan would have to be postponed. He got a phone call from the agency and had been ordered to meet one of the new recruits from the Central Intelligence Agency in Brooklyn. And I got a call too. The terrorist cell of militants based between Jaipur, Agra, and New Delhi wanted to strike at the heart of India and blow up the Taj Mahal. This wonder of the world had been built in the 15th century by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan to house the tomb of his favorite wife, Mumtaz Mahal. The terrorist cell's plan was to send a few select suicide bombers to blow it up just before the anniversary of India's independence. Their plan was to divide the Muslims and the Hindus and to exacerbate the tension between Pakistan and India. But one of the bomber wannabes was intercepted by the Indian Secret Services. Frank and I were called immediately by the CIA because of our past experience in the region. We knew how to find people who didn't want to be found, and we knew how to make those same people talk. And we had a very good relationship with the Indian Secret Services. We quickly found out who the mastermind was by using our dirty tricks and our harsh interrogation methods. But when we finally got him, there was no reason to torture him. His teammates had already told us all we wanted to know. You see, Frank and I took it very personally after 9/11. We wanted to inflict unbearable pain just before the fatal blow to each of the enemies of the United States of America. And we saw ourselves as better executioners than torturers. In other words, we just wanted to kill them all. Frank later learned that the Pakistani intelligence services were upset that we had kept them in the dark while working with the Indian intelligence services, and decided to teach us a lesson by giving intel about me to one of their informants in the United States. This scumbag located me in my hotel in New York and gave the info to the last person who should have known about it, the twin brother of the mastermind of the failed Taj Mahal attack, an adjunct professor at Columbia University. He was recorded entering my room by the surveillance cameras of the Blue Hotel. The twin was an erudite, not exactly a man of action or a fanatic like his brother, but the execution of his beloved brother made him a mad dog, and he just wanted revenge, and to take Frank's life and my life. After I was killed by this library worm, my superiors ordered Frank to follow him and not to intercept him under any circumstances. They thought that he may have had ties to a terrorist cell here in the United States. They wanted to know more. Who was he working for? Did someone order the kill? That was all complete bureaucratic nonsense. The man just wanted revenge for his brother's death. And Frank not only wanted to avenge my death, but also to make sure he wasn't going to end up in a coffin like me. Frank had no choice but to kill him. You see, my death had brought back to him the painful memories of 9/11. It was like having to live the same nightmare again. He couldn't let this man live and walk free. Fuck his superiors. Fuck the CIA. I had given my life to serve my country, and I deserved justice, but Frank was going to give me that. But he should have been more cautious. It's never a good idea to double-cross your boss, especially if he's one of the big shots at the Central Intelligence Agency. Frank had the feeling his superiors were going to retaliate after he killed the twin. Frank was supposed to meet Victoria uptown at Columbus Circle near Central Park, but he had decided to first make a quick trip to downtown Manhattan to check the construction of the Freedom Tower. The agency didn't care if Frank and Victoria were deeply in love or not, and his bosses wanted to hit where it hurt the most, his heart first. They wanted to destroy him morally before destroying him physically. His demise should be complete. No one was to disobey the bigwigs of the CIA. So the decision was made to eliminate Victoria. They killed his beloved by poisoning her. She was nothing to them, less than an insignificant pawn on a giant chessboard. But Victoria was everything for him. His world was turned upside down. But this time, not by the enemies of the United States, and instead by the people in charge of the protection of our country. Frank started to feel like there was no more freedom to defend. His country wasn't free anymore. It had been hijacked. In the end, to get rid of Frank, they killed him in his sleep by lethal injection. And later, they cut his body into pieces with a chainsaw and used several gallons of acid to make his body parts disappear. The acid erased him from the surface of the earth. It was like he'd never existed. And no history book will ever mention that Frank and I saved hundreds of people and preserved the Taj Mahal from destruction. Maybe it was for the best. Maybe it was fate. Frank and I were becoming obsolete anyway. Men like us were quickly being replaced by drones and killing machines. We were too human for a world dominated more and more each day by greed and technology. Frank and I, in defending freedom and liberty abroad, had been unable to preserve it here at home. We had stopped the destruction of a monument dedicated to eternal love between a man and a woman. But Frank had been unable to save the love of his life.